Jack Nichols and welcome to home.
Who's going to break Naismith's world title?
Look at these two go.
He's going to do it, his first victory.
The World Championship is done. What a race it's been.
Hello and welcome back to Silverstone, home with the British Grand Prix for round 4 of the 2023 Formula SimRacing Pro Championship, which is brought to you in partnership with VCO eSports. Well, 3 weeks ago, we were in Canada at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve. It was Loic Mounier who took a breakthrough first victory from pole position after a narrow victory over Victor Ivanov. First eSport and Tom Oldenmenger finished third after a fantastic performance, and he's moved up to second in the championship before tonight's race. My name is Darragh Thacker, and alongside me is the ever-brilliant Jess Paul. So, Jess, welcome along. We're at Silverstone again. I know you were here a couple of weeks ago for the British Grand Prix. What are we looking forward to tonight?
Well, it is a very iconic circuit, first used in motorsport back in 1950, so it is known for its very, very big heritage, a lot of iconic corners, in particular Maggots and Beckett section, Cops as well, and also the newly named Hamilton Straight, which was named like that a few years ago after Sir Lewis Hamilton. But from what we saw in the Academy race, I think we're set for another cracker here as the temperatures begin to rise once again.
Yeah, absolutely. Those of you who joined myself and Ed Hunter for that Academy race will have seen an absolutely cracking race where there was action up and down the field, a bit of a pile-up in turn one, but a great race all around. And I'm sure we're expecting the same here this evening. I mean, we were in Canada 3 weeks ago, Jess, but that's a track where you see less overtaking, but we still saw quite a bit of it. So I think we can probably expect a lot today, can't we?
Yes, I do remember when I was at Silverstone a week ago, an amazing battle between, I think it was the two F2 drivers of Victor Martins and Enzo Fittipaldi, and they can prove that you can go side by side in literally any corner. They started at the Wellington Straight, and then they were side by side through Brooklands, into Luffield, Woodcote, into the National Pit Straight, and then through Cops, then through Maggots and Beckett, which is hard to go side by side. And I have to say, Victor and Enzo pulled off a great show. I think we'll probably see something similar here today as well. But yeah, as you said about Canada, hard to overtake, but they made overtakes anyway. But I think we could see overtakes galore as well. I think Stowe's going to be the one where I think we could see the most overtakes today.
Definitely, and we can see the standings now. I mean, Victor Ivanov is leading the championship after a cracking start to the season. 80 points he's got ahead of Tom Oldenmenger, who is currently in second after that podium last time in Canada. Patrick Sevitt not too far behind as well, and Loic Mounier is also up there in fourth. But a lot of these drivers have all had at least one good result so far this season. I mean, you look down for Simon Frelick, and Frelick himself has had a P3 this season, and he's down ninth in the championships. There's a lot of drivers in and around this top 10 who will be hoping for a good result tonight.
Yes, and I have to say, with Patrick Sevitt, he's been very consistent. His best result was in Barcelona, where he got a P2, but didn't really show his true colour in Canada. But he knows that Silverstone is a much better track for him. He was P2 in the standings before Canada, and he dropped down by 1 point because Tom Oldenmenger came down from, I think it was 11th or 12th on the grid to finish in third. And he's usually the comeback king, where qualifying sometimes doesn't matter for him. And with a track which is so easy to overtake, I think he's going to probably climb up anyway. But if he can get a good qualifying today, I'm sure he'll be the one to watch out for as well. Simon Frelick did not have a good time last time. He finished in 20th in Canada, where he finished 7th in Barcelona, and in Bahrain he got a podium. And Giannis Lianos, I think, will have something to live up to this time out in Silverstone, and quite a few other drivers as well. But we've got to keep an eye on Ivanov. He is hungry for another victory, and he's probably the only driver to score on the podium in every single race this season. The lowest he finished was P2, both in Canada last time out and in the opening round in Bahrain.
Yeah, and he has had such good consistency in this opening phase of the season. But now we are currently looking at the practice at the moment for this pro race round 4. You can see there the times are incredibly close. Cam Roger currently top of the times, but only by 0.003 of a second with Mirko Mancini. Those of you who watched the Academy race will know that P1 and 2 in qualifying was put by just 0.004 of a second. And I think Silverstone is a track, Jess, where you do see quite a lot of close times, isn't it?
Even in real life as well, we saw the likes of Max Verstappen and Lando Norris quite close together in the times, and even in the practice sections as well. So I think, you know, it's going to come down to really how they hook the middle sector, the really technical parts of the circuit. Maggots and Beckett's very difficult to get right as well. Cops, there are certain setups as well where you can take it flat out a little bit. You got to get the turning right too, and of course you got this part here now past Farm and Village, heading into Arena now and into the Wellington Straight. They've got to get the turning perfectly right as well, and that is where we saw quite a bit of carnage in the Academy race earlier on, which hopefully we won't see here today as well. Track temp at the moment 40.3 degrees Celsius and ambient 21 degrees Celsius. So not as hot as what we saw in real life in Silverstone, which was about 27 degrees. I was very hot, believe it or not, a week ago. But yeah, I think it's going to be half of the time test. Mediums may last a bit shorter than we would expect, but I think the hards could be a more viable option, as we saw. Oh, is that Tom? Or is that someone else?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a bit of lag there from Tom Oldermanger. I only feel that because we've seen quite a few of that in the Academy. We saw a lot of lag going left, right and centre. But we are just about to start quali now, as we see Cam Roger coming out of the pit lane. Of course, he topped that practice session, I should say. And but you can tell he's Cameron Roger because he's got Cameron on the front of his helmet. So pretty hard. Oh, it's Roger on the side as well. Pretty hard.
Very nice.
Yeah, so that's a very nice design for him there in his first eSport car, but we'll have to see how he does. But the 10 minutes now for qualifying are underway, and in Academy we saw a couple of anchor lap times not holding up by the end of the session, so the track might improve rapidly over these 10 minutes.
Yes, and sometimes when I've commentated around Silverstone, usually it's the laps that are set in the middle half of the session which pretty much sets the grid, because sometimes they're under too much pressure to do well in the session and they may mess up in the final parts. But you never know, with the track evolution, we saw that in real life. People that go out last may be the ones that could start on pole for today's race. Slightly longer race than what we saw in Academy, as the races get longer and longer the higher the division that you see at the moment, as Cameron Roger heads towards the national pit straight as well. And I have to say, he's going to be the one to set the pace currently, and obviously he topped the practice session. We don't know how they've been doing in terms of their own practice, so you never know, there could be some other drivers that could be up there too. Victor Ivanov, our championship leader, has got a good hold in the championship, but we haven't seen what the other drivers are like. It's been a long time since Cameron has had a good result in this championship. His best result this season was a P11 in Canada, his first race of the season. So would it be amazing for one of our very own Cameron Roger to potentially get a podium, maybe?
Maybe. He's been a very busy man over the past 36 hours, but I'm sure he will be hoping for a good result. I remember Mr. Zach Sweeney gave me a stat last week about how he would finish, I think, less than half of the races he has competed in this Pro Championship. But I'm sure he would like to finish this one and finish it well, because the pace he showed so far is very quick indeed. But he's starting the lap time now, coming through Village and then through the loop and entry. Ooh, a little bit of rear sliding there in the car as he comes towards what will be the end of Sector 1 when he gets under the Wellington Bridge.
Yes, through the Wellington Straight. A lot of DRS movement from these drivers in real life, of course, as they head through Brooklands and into Luffield. Plenty of people can go around the outside around here too. Luffield was where I spent quite a bit in my time in Silverstone a week ago. I was watching the practice sessions around there, which was actually quite a good view, to be honest. I also saw the Porsches around there too. Heading through Copse Corner, where before 2009, that was where turn 1 was based. Now Abbey is turn number 1. It'll be interesting to hear your thoughts in the chat on which turn 1 you will prefer, Copse Corner or Abbey Corner. We'll have to wait and see. Past Chapel now, into the hangers straight, gaining all the power that you can into 8th gear. Now heading past Stowe Corner, which is named after Stowe School, which is situated not too far from the circuit. Past Vale and heading in towards Club Corner very, very soon. A popular grandstand if you want to watch the Formula 1 through there. Very, very good viewing spot. Heading towards the Hamilton straight now. What lap time is it going to be? For him, it's going to be a 1:28.466, which puts him into P7. And we got Erkan sitting in P1, who's replacing Joshua Hamilton for the rest of the season. So he's now full-time for the rest of this championship.
Yeah, he is. And I mean, he got introduced into this, well, he's into the team for the rest of the season, as you've said. And he's got off the ground very much running. I mean, he's 2/10 clear of Zalogiannis at the moment in this session, but the times are incredibly tight. I mean, looking down the order, I mean, we're looking at Janis Lanos, who is only just over 6/10 off of Arda Erkan, and he's down in 14th place. The time's very, very close indeed so far this evening. But I mean, we're looking here at Kevin Morville, who's coming around the line. We know how that Super Venturi goes, and it often goes very well. But Morville, as he comes to the line, he's 17th after that first run. Time to find for him. But I'm sure he will be able to find it at some point. We now see Tom Oldermenger through Luffield. And it's quite a nice camera angle because you can really see how the cars come into Luffield and then try and find the exit towards Woodcote.
Yeah, and hopefully people don't get confused with this pit straight here. You don't go into the pits there, you go into the pits in the Hamilton straight then as well. And Tom Oldermenger, usually not good in qualifying, but will he put that qualifying curse behind him? Because when he qualifies highly, surely he can contend for the win here today, as well as he heads towards Chapel once again. I absolutely love his highlight videos that he makes on a daily basis. Ed Hunter always shares it with me in DMs on Discord, and he's like, Jess, check this out. And it's good to get a driver's perspective on how they think the race has gone, and the amount of overtakes he made in Canada was absolutely sensational. So I'm sure he'll make pretty much similar overtakes here, but I think he probably doesn't like me hyping him up too much. So I will stop then, as we've got Paul Gaslan, who's setting a personal best currently as well, and Jorge in 22nd place. He's setting personal best too, as he's finishing his last. Tom Oldermenger, I believe, is starting a lap as he heads past Abbey and into Farm and Village.
He is indeed, but I mean, you said he might have to make a lot of more overtakes, but if he starts high up the grid, there won't be many to overtake. He's currently in 4th, but that time he will hope to improve. We're seeing green, purple for Simon Frelich currently down in P9, but that purple has gone to Tom Oldermenger. Only 3 thousandths between their first sectors, as everyone is on the second runs. Everyone should be able to get 3 in if they're quick about it, as we saw in Academy, but we see Tom Oldermenger coming through Woodcote up towards, as we've said, the old first corner at Copse, nearly flat out through their 7th gear for Tom Oldermenger as he comes towards one of the most famous bits of racetrack in the world. Maggots and Beckett's flying through the rear end, hoping to stick with their car, and Tom Oldermenger through there like the clappers. Great line for him towards the end of that second sector. Is it purple again for him? Not quite, but it is still green. He is still improving on that lap time. A couple of drivers in front going a little bit quicker, but as he runs to the line, we'll have to wait to see if he can make an improvement onto the front row. As we, I think that's who's that going P2? I think that's Nizio going P2, and then Cam Roger goes P. Salogiannis up to P3 as he will come into the pit lane. But what can Tom Oldermenger do? He's going to run to the line. Currently P7. Can he find himself on the front 2 rows? He can't. P6. He's only 2/10 off.
Look at the grid that you can see right now. You got P1, that is a 1:28.0, and then you go all the way down into P17, which is a 1:28.8, 8 tenths separating between all of them. So it only takes a small margin of error to not get a good position at all, because you may be quicker, may find a few tenths, and that may only put you P12, which is where Stoyan Barbakov is at the moment. But we also got to keep an eye on George Zalagianis, because I remember watching him in Barcelona, my first ever FSR race that I commentated on. Started on pole, got very unlucky with, I think, the storms and power cuts that he had in his area. Still has got a point to prove in this championship. He's got the pace, but maybe he's got some pace hidden in his sleeve, as we've seen at a few spinners already, getting a few heat into the tyres. But he's third at the moment, but not by much between himself and Arda Erkan in P1 currently.
Yeah, and I think there is currently 7, if my eyes are not deceiving me, 7 teams in the top 8 at the moment, which is great to see. But, there are quite a few more drivers coming down the list. I mean, Royal Blue are doing quite well with 8th, 9th, 10th and 12th. So those 4 drivers very close together at the moment on the grid. I think everyone's currently on their final outlaps before the end of this session. No one setting any bright colours on the timing screen. But I think good results at the moment for Erkan, who's coming to this championship. Cam Roger as well. As we've mentioned, he doesn't have the best record in the Pro Championship, but he has got second at the moment. But we'll have to wait and see who gets on pole with just over a minute of the session to go.
As what I like to call it whenever I commentate in any race, calm before the storm is what the drivers will be facing right now. Getting the heat into the tyres, the track temperature remains roughly the same, which is good to see, but the rubber has really started to settle in from all the drivers, and they're trying to use every bit of track they can and curb to gain as much time as they possibly can. And we can see Erkan trying to gain a lot of time as possible. He's going to be out of sync compared to quite a few drivers on the grid, but we're starting to see, obviously, Peter improving a 24.8 for him. I think Paul Guzlan across the line. He came across the line in P16, which was a good lap time, 128.6, but only in 16, which shows the high caliber of drivers on this grid. Middle sector for Erkan. Not his personal best right now, but still, maybe he could try and get into the 127s. Cameron Roger at 124.5, so 10th quicker than Erkan in at the first sector. So there could be a battle between Erkan and Cameron Roger for pole position here.
There could very well be. Erkan, though, round the line. It's the last chance for him to set a lap in this qualifying session. What can it be? Can he put anything between him and the rest of the grid? He sets a purple time. I think he has just a little bit more on the rest. It's a 27.987. He's the first driver into the 1 minute 27s in this session. But Cam Roger is improving. 24.556 first sector. The middle sector, 37.8. He's just lost just over a tenth on Erkan, so there's not much in it, because the timing page goes green in that middle sector for quite a few drivers. Who else could try and find their way to the top of the time sheets? Cam Roger, though, will be coming around Vale Chicane and then into Club. Here he comes. Can he snatch pole right at the death? He's one of the last drivers to finish the session. Can he take pole, or will it be second for him? He comes to the line. Oh, it'll be second, but not by much. It's 400ths of a second. It was 4,000ths in Academy. It's 400ths in Pro. And Cam Roger will line up on the front row. But a cracking result for Erkan Roger. And Zalagianis lines up third.
Yeah, I'm looking at Erkan's previous results, and he only finished 17th in the Canadian Grand Prix the last time we were here on the 25th of June, which was 3 weeks ago. And I think that sometimes there are tracks that you get on with and tracks that you do not. And this is a track where it's less narrow compared to Canada. There's more runoff and there's more chance to heat your tyres for Erkan. And maybe he's just a big fan of this track, and he's so close to be getting into potential 127.5 potentially. But we'll see what he can do come the race. We'll see what Tom Oldemega can do from 8th place currently, which is better than his previous qualifying sessions. I wonder if he's going to challenge for the win today. Some best results all around from a lot of the drivers. Casper Nizio did very well to cross the line in 5th place in qualifying, but I'll let you go through the results.
Yes, Arda Erkan, I think he's at the best time, but I'm looking, I believe he's disconnected, or he's lost connection for now, so we'll have to see what's happened there. So Cam Roger might line up on the pole position, but either way, very close between those two. George Zalagianis in P3 for ground effects. Have it in fourth. Nizio, like you said, had the fifth fastest time for Super Venturo with Ivanov just behind. Loic Meunier also in sixth with Tom Oldermenger in seventh. Those three were on the podium last time out in Canada, and they will start up at sixth, seventh, and eighth, or fifth, sixth, and seventh. Christian Pasquale for Visceral Esports and Stoyan Barbyakov round out the top 10 for Royal Blue. Mirko Mancini and Simon Frelich make it 3 Royal Blues in a row at the back end of the top 10, and into the just below that is Ivan Leonov for Netrex GP. Peter Vagapart in 13th, Lianos in 14th, Matt Dewson in 15th with Alex Lahou, Paul Augustin, Sergio Fletcher, and Jorge Alvarola rounding out the top 20 with Kevin Morville and Liam Howard at the back of the field. They've got some work to do. But Kevin Morville was just over a second off the fastest time, and yet he's back in 21st.
Yeah, I think with Kevin Morville, he's currently sitting 16th in the championship, and his best result was in Canada last time out. Usually, if you start at this position, it's not good for your hopes. But say that to Tom Oldermenger, say that to the likes of obviously Loic as well, who came up quite low down to finish quite highly in Barcelona in round number 2, and then obviously you got pole and then won the race in Canada as well. So it is still possible for him to get a higher result as well. And you can check the live timings as well on the YouTube description if you are interested in deeping into the data as much as we are at the moment. But I think I'm just trying to see if our pole sitter is in the session. Currently he's not. So hopefully he can join us very, very soon. Because it'll be a bit of a shame for our pole sitter to not have a chance to the win. But if it's not, Cameron Roger could be starting in a very good position.
Yes, he's just joined at the bottom there. You've just joined at the bottom of that list. You can see he's got no time in the pit lane. But Erkan is in the lobby, which is exactly where he will need to be to start on pole position. He won't have wanted to lose connection after such a good qualifying result. The 22 drivers will tackle this race, and Cam Rogers starting second, we do believe, will be in a very good position for where he has been previously in the last few seasons of the Pro Championship. So hopefully he will do well. I worry that Erkan may have just disconnected again. His name has disappeared from the bottom of that timing sheet, so we'll wait and see. But Cam Roger will be very pleased wherever he starts to be on the front row, I'm sure.
And I do remember last week at the British Grand Prix, I had a good view on it. The driver that started in P2, Lando Norris, got the best start, and he went on to lead the first half of that British Grand Prix. But that doesn't mean that you may be going on to win, but it didn't help the Verstappen didn't have a good start. But yeah, I think no matter where Cameron Rogers starts, he's going to be very, very happy indeed. Liam Howard is a driver I'm looking at, I think, to potentially redeem himself, because I think he got caught up in the calamities in Canada last time out, which forced him to retire, one of the first retirements in that race. And it's a bit of a shame, because I always see so much potential in Liam Howard in this championship, and it's just a shame that he just got unlucky in the Canadian Grand Prix. His best finish this season was in Spain, but I'm sure there's a top 10 still looming in him as well. But qualifying, it doesn't mean anything for some of these drivers. What counts is the race in just a few moments' time, as a few more drivers get into final practice in before the race begins.
Definitely so. And yeah, Liam Howard, of course, teammate to Viktor Ivanov. I mean, he'll hope to support him a little bit in the championship, hope to move through the field today, give a few more points to help his teammate out, as NX27 are currently second in the championship behind Royal Blue Racing with only 14 points in it. But Royal Blue do have a very good starting positions for this race. 4 of them covered. I think there's only one driver between all 4 of them, so there's not much in it at all. But lots to look forward to. Tom Oldermenger, quickest in that warm-up, 34.013, but of course that means absolutely nothing, because we're about to get the race underway. But we've got formation lap to come before that, as we are connecting towards that race, as we see all of the drivers. I mean, they're currently on hard tyres, but we'll have to see who changed his strategy. And there are a few changes already. We can see medium putting on for Sevitt, Meunier, and Barbyakov so far.
I wonder if we will see people going on at the soft compound tyres as well. We saw that in the academy earlier, some brave little souls trying to put on the soft tyres, but they don't last very long, and even the mediums don't last very long, and the academy race is a bit shorter, so it'll be interesting to see which ones they go for. And I had confirmation from race control that our pole sitter, unfortunately, he's not going to be starting the race.
Yeah, no, that's a shame. Darragh is not going to be able to convert his pole position. That promotes Cam Roger up into pole position now. George Zalagianis and Patrick Sevitt second and third, and Izio as well starting fourth as well. But of course, we did see in Academy a couple of two-stop strategies going on, and we have also seen, I remember last time out in Canada, a few interesting strategies that I remember Jess and me and you were scratching our heads over some of them. I think Viktor Ivanov went for a three-stop eventually, which we were struggling to work out where he was going to go next halfway through that race. But I mean, it seems that everyone is on that hard tyre to begin with, so maybe not as much change in the strategy, but Cam Roger will hope for a good launch off of the line.
I've just seen someone that's going to be starting from the pit lane, so I wonder if they didn't press the drive button quick enough. And it's not like, obviously, Formula 1, where if you don't ready up, you're allowed to do the formation lap still. If you don't press drive in, like rFactor 2 or iRacing, that's it. You'll be starting in the pit lane no matter what. And that means he's not going to get his tyres a little bit of a warm-up compared to everybody else, which is a bit of a shame, but I kind of would have liked to see more varying in the strategies. I kind of wish we sort of see at least one person on the softs, but it's nice to see one person going on the mediums to try and climb his way up a little bit. But if he doesn't climb his way up compared to the rest of the field, then I think he could be in a lot of trouble later on in the race. But I think hards seems to be the sensible choice, and if I was racing, that's the tyre I would have gone for.
Yeah, definitely, and I think it's a good race time. We saw in Academy that there was a lot of pace in that tyre as well, so we'll have to see if that translates into this Pro Academy race. But look, yeah, Arbikov, the front of that little train of Royal Blue cars of Mancini and Frelich, 9th, 10th and 11th, and I think it is, yes, it's Alberola who's in that Valley eSports car who is going to be starting from the pit lane. But Cam Rogers going to be starting from pole position in this race. Like we've said, he's not had the best results of late, but he's going to start on pole. His teammate Tom Aldermanger is lining up in 7th, and this could be a good result for the Burst eSport team. I mean, with Cam Rogers' first result of 11th last time out in Canada and Tom Aldermanger picking up some consistent points, they could maybe start to become a little bit of a dark horse of the championship if they do well there.
And as I usually like to say in any commentary, again, as George Russell likes to say, consistency is key. You may not pick up the most wins, but if you consistently get podiums and maybe finish in that top 5 more often than your competitors, then you're going to be potentially doing well. So the driver that may get the most wins, they may not win the championship in the end. It's about who keeps the most consistent throughout the season. I'm really excited about this one. Been looking forward to this all week, and let's just see who's going to win this one. And it's going to be a long race ahead of us, but this is the warm-up ready for the World Championship later on tonight.
It is indeed, but we're about to get going. Cam Roger is starting on pole. George Alagian is alongside him, but who's going to get the best start off of the line? The 5 red lights are appearing for the start of this race in Silverstone, and the lights are gone, and we are away. It's a good start from Cam Roger, but George Alagianis is alongside slightly, but he can't quite get the run. Patrick Sevitt around the outside, and off the track through Abbey and through Farm. He might have to rejoin behind George Alagianis, as we see in the background, a couple of cars off already as we come through Village for the first time. But oh no, there's a car spinning. I think that might be Patrick Sevitt, but it's a manic start as they come through Village, through the loop, onto Aintree. But Cam Roger, a massive lead off the start.
I've seen some slow starters from in the background as well. I've seen Leonov did not have a good start as well, and I think a few people did not get off the line correctly as well. But George Zalagianis up to 2nd place already, overtaken Viktor Ivanov. It's a great start to his race that he wants to see currently as well. And the medium runners gaining quite a few positions up into 7th currently, and Tom Aldermanger losing out on the position, but it's only lap 1. Anything can happen in this race. They all head towards Kopp's corner with track temperatures remaining the same right now. Gap at the front It's around 0.8 of a second, which is a really decent amount for Cameron Roger to keep up with as well. But I think George may have some pace saved in his back pocket for later on in the next few laps when DRS will get activated as well. So the top two are running away with it, and then we got a big train right behind them. I wonder how that's going to play out in these early stages. Interesting indeed. Victor Ivanov and Loic Monnier having a good start between them. Of course, they are two of, you could call the championship contenders. Of course, Monnier down in fourth, but did win last week out, so he is definitely in the hunt for the championship, and he's moved up to fourth along with Ivanov in third. Oldenburg, as we've said, has not necessarily had the greatest of starts, but we know that he can find his way through eventually. Despite Sevic's bad start, Frelick and Barbikov have worked their way up, but Barbikov behind his teammate, who started behind him despite being on that medium tyre. But of course, very early stages, lap 2 only that we're on here in Silverstone. Cam Roger leads by a healthy margin of 0.8, and they've got a big gap back to Victor Ivanov, 3.2 seconds back from Cam. As we look at a replay of the start here, I believe we will see who got the best start, what happened at the back, but it was a good start in the front. Yeah, and I think going through Abbey, if you get that wrong, just like this driver could here, then you could lose quite a few positions through here as well. As the number 42 tagged the number 71 very, very tightly indeed, and you could see Ivan losing a few positions, and I think he dropped to the back of the grid. A lot of front wings were lost out of a lot of these drivers, and not as chaotic as Academy we saw earlier, but still quite chaotic, and these drivers were going to lose a lot of time when they come in to the pits. And I think we saw the driver side in the pits, Alvarola, I think his engine kind of exploded, so unfortunately we already got our first retirement already before he even got going, which is a bit of a shame. I don't know how he lost his engine. Hopefully we'll find out a bit more information from him very soon, but you can see Giannis found a bit more pace compared to Cameron Roger currently right near the gearbox of Cameron Roger, so I'm very excited to see what he does. I'm a bit surprised that Victor Ivanov is not closing up to him yet, but maybe like he has done in Canada, he's just saving his tyre life right now, not pushing too much, and then later on in the race, when he before he goes to pit, that is when he could start to push, and when everyone else starts to struggle, he can really be the shining driver that we know and love. Yeah, definitely, and I think it's interesting because the drivers at the front are going to be safer, aren't they, on this hard tyre, because there is not that much variation in the strategy, so there should be, by rights, quite a uniform strategy, which would give the guys at the front a little bit more hope that they are just fighting for the position they are currently in. Of course, we saw in Academy a lot of different strategies being used, and you didn't really know if you were fighting the driver for position or if they had another stop. Barbikov, he's going to go past his teammate Frelick. I think that might have been choreographed between those two Royal Blue racing cars as they come through Cops Corner, someone going wide at the back as well. But a good start to the race for the front guys. But, I mean, Cam Roger and Giannis are not two people I think many people would have said were favourites to be 1 and 2 at the start of this race. Currently themselves down in 12th and 21st in the championship, but they are being chased down by Ivanov and Munier, who are 1st and 4th. So a little bit of role reversal here, and it's a little bit of a difference to what we've seen in previous races, but it creates an intriguing battle. But we've seen how Liam Howard, he said to look out for him, and he's moved up from 21st to 15th there. So he's having a better race than what we saw in Canada. He's already, I think, improved my expectations. He only lasted 2 laps in Canada, already on lap 4. So definitely a well done to him. So let's hope he can keep this up. He's around about a second behind Tucson in 14th position. Then we got Pascal. I think he was another victim of the carnage earlier on. He dropped down into 13th position. So Liam Howard could potentially gain quite a few positions here. There's a big DRS train heading past the Wellington Straight currently. Everybody is using their DRS. Apart from obviously if you're in the leader of Cameron Roger. I think Ivanov has lost, hasn't got any DRS either. So he probably would have been very vulnerable to Loic. And Loic has gained quite a lot of positions in the start too. And don't forget he won last week in Canada, and he pretty much stayed up front for most of it, but he's having to work for it currently, and he's definitely proving his worth in Pro currently by making his way up to 4th. Definitely so, and I think it's important to remember in this championship how we are looking for the
for the drivers who are going to be consistent towards the end. I mean, Ivanov has had a very good start to the championship, second, first and second, but it is a 9-race season and there is a lot of work to be done. But Zalagianis has actually taken the lead off Cam Roger as they come into Stowe on lap 4. Important move for him if he wants to win this race. Of course, these two will know they are being chased down by drivers right at the top of the championship, so may not want to be fighting too hard over these positions so early on. Of course, we're only on lap 5 of 42. But Jess, do you think that these guys might be trying to, you know, use each other's DRS and use the toe to try and pull away from the cars behind?
They can't afford to squabble too much because otherwise there's going to be people like Ivanov that's going to catch up very quickly. But yeah, I'm almost certain Cameron Roger is going to pretty much use the slipstream that he can get to try and close in on Zalagianis and make sure nobody else would get the DRS behind, because Ivanov's about 3.5 seconds down the road. The huge advantage around here in terms of DRS, I've seen it in real life, it's absolutely huge. Not much to Canada. Canada, they obviously changed the DRS detection to around 7 tenths and only 1 DRS zone. Around here in Silverstone, it's pretty much the same DRS zones that you see in real life. And the tactics they're doing very well. As you can see, Pascal trying to go side by side, heading in towards Cop's corner.
He is, and he's going to sweep around the outside of Kevin Morville to take 12th position, which is a great move for the Visceral Esports driver. He's moving up towards that top 10. Currently, he's going to have to pass Fletcher for it. There's not been too much field spread during this race. 15.5 seconds from first down to 19th of Paul Augustin, as Leonov is a long way off the back. You can see on the minimap going down that Wellington straight and very much disconnected from the rest of the order. But we see Liam Howard and Patrick Sevitt going at it from 15th place. Patrick Sevitt right around the outside. Oh no, contact with Liam Howard, who's managed to keep it righted, but that won't help. That's a rear wing gone, and that will not be helpful for the rest of his race. I think he's going to have to come into the pit lane if he can. Whether he will have to just retire from this race, no, he is out. So, big there for him. That's such a shame for him. We'll see it on the replay. But that rear wing went absolutely flying.
Well, I think I shouldn't talk good about Liam Howard again because he gets involved in another incident. He just can't avoid the bad luck at the moment, which is always a bit of a shame. But let's look at the replay. It's almost a carbon copy than what we saw in Formula E, where one person spun and there was nothing that the other car could do to avoid him. But that's another DNF added to Liam's name, and that is a shame. We've already, I think, lost 2 drivers already from this race, with a few other drivers potentially heading into the pits. I think we got Mirko Mancini currently in the pit, so he's still going, but he's going to be a long way behind compared to his rival. Sergio Fletcher in 10th place, and he's in touching distance of Peter as well in 9th. And I have to say, Stoyan on the medium tyres, I thought he would have gained a lot more positions than this. The mediums have a higher tyre advantage compared to the hards. Maybe the mediums are starting to wear off quickly than we might think.
I don't think it helped particularly that Stoyan didn't have the best of starts. You see Vagapov fighting here. I think this will be Simon Frelich for P8 as they come into the Vale chicane. It is indeed, but he can't quite make the move past. Of course, Vagapov is, I think, the sole TX3 driver in this race after the disconnect for Arda Erkan earlier on, which is a bit of a shame for him, but it won't be a shame for the rest of the drivers and teams, as they know that they should be able to gain some points if they have a good race. But like you said, Barbie not gaining many positions, but he didn't have the greatest of starts, did he? He lost a couple of places, one to his teammate Simon Frelich, and another couple as well. So that didn't necessarily put him on the best foot, but he's currently up in 5th, which is much better than where he started. And he's in that DRS train behind Mounier. But yeah, Cameron and Zalagianis still fighting it out. We see Vagapov still fighting. There's a spin there. I think that is going to be Fletcher, I believe. Yes, it is. Who's managed to somehow crab his way across that grass at Luffield and keep going without losing too much time. He's not lost a position to Lianos as well. So, yeah, I think, you know, that could have been much worse than it was. But Vagapov got away with a little bit.
Yeah, I may as well stop talking, Darragh, because every time, again, I say something good about a driver, again, they get involved in an incident. But, yeah, I think they just both got tagged, and it was, oh, Jesus, it was almost an unsafe rejoin for Fletcher there. That could have ended up so much worse, but luckily I believe both of them are still in this race. They can keep ploughing on, but their tyres may be not in the best of shape, so maybe have a lot of marbles in their tyres now, which is unfortunate. But we're still potentially could see some more movements heading in towards Vale. Oldemega is in 7th for now, but he's within 3 tenths of Casper in 6th position. That could be an interesting fight as we head towards Abbey now for the 8th time, and the gap between Cameron Roger and Sargianis has decreased once again to 4 tenths per second, but still Cameron Roger could not get past George Sargianis for the lead of this race. I wonder if he'd be saving his tyres for the prime moment of this race.
And maybe that's now, because he's coming to the inside of Brooklands and he's going to take the lead once again.
Good
Perfectly teed up for you there. Yeah, well done. Perfectly teed up from you for the move. But is this the perfect time? We'll have to see, because it's only lap 8 of 42. But I think it's interesting because Barbikov, as he's got past Munier as well, and Nizio, he's up into 4th now. He's able to kind of back everyone up. That's wide. Yeah, that's Alexander bouncing across the curb. The floor of his car is not going to be thanking him for that one in a hurry. But yeah, Barbikov being on that medium and maybe slowing down a bit is giving the front 3 some breathing room to the rest. I mean, you can see on the mini-map where that train starts as they come through Beckett's and Chapel now. And you can see they are quite a ways behind Cam Roger and Zalagianis, nearly the full hanger straight behind as we are only on lap 8. But that medium tyre remains to be seen when Barbikov will pit off of it. And it will be an indication as to whether we might see a 1 or a 2 stop from these guys today.
Or maybe a 3 stop, but to be honest, I don't think we're going to see that extreme, because it's not as hot as obviously what we experienced in real life 1 week ago. But Cameron Roger set the fastest, his personal best in Sector 1, 25.9, so his hearts are holding on ever so slightly. So compare his time to what we're seeing with Stoyan on the mediums. He set a 26.4, so slowly he's losing a bit of time to the fastest drivers on the grid, but in comparison to his main rivals of Loic and Ivanov, he's around about the same, so he's not losing that much time anyway, so he may stay out just a little bit longer and pray that the 1 stop could potentially work. What was his set time this time? 26.4 for Stoyan, 26.5 for Loic, so Stoyan was a little bit faster on this lap compared to Loic in the first sector, so I'm still holding hope for Stoyan to make those means last just a little while longer yet.
Yeah, definitely. And being in 4th, that's much better than where he started. But since I mentioned that he was maybe holding the rest back, he has lost a second to Cam Roger at the lead of this race. We are seeing cars absolutely everywhere. Fletcher fighting with Frelick over 9th and 10th place here. And this train is really starting to back up here. The drivers hoping to get a bit of a move on. Simon Frelick. Oh, was that Fletcher going wide? Frelick nearly joined him on that path off the track, and everyone opening their DRS towards Stowe Corner. Is that Oldemega at the inside of Loic Munier? I think it was Oldemega making the move for 5th place. We see Frelick fighting it out, but Oldemega, he is up into 5th place. He is making those moves you mentioned, Jess, in qualifying. And he might have Barbikov in his sights next up.
Yeah, but Barbikov is the next driver, and this is where we start to see the tyre degradation start to set in for Barbikov in 4th position. And if Tom could get past easily, then we know that maybe Stoyan could potentially have to make a pit stop very soon. Tom Oldemega is 4 tenths quicker in the first sector compared to Stoyan, so definitely he wants to have another charge and potentially get the podium as well. He's got the DRS as well, whereas I believe Barbikov is not using his DRS. I don't think he's that far behind. There's Tom Oldemega has also got the likes of Loic and Casper right behind him too. So it's not just him trying to attack on Stoyan, he's also got Loic and Casper for company who wants to gain some positions too. So this is a huge DRS train which we've been talking about for so long. We saw it in Academy too. I think we're seeing exactly the same here, and sometimes it can work well like we saw in real life. As we can see, Tom, he was almost going to be very brave through Maggots and Beckers there, but I think decided to back out a little bit as he heads towards Chapel. But the hanger straight, he's got to gain that straight line speed now to even try and get past Stoyan in front.
Yeah, definitely, and he's a wise old head. It's Tom Oldemega as he's going to go around the outside of Stowe, easy as you like through there for the Burst eSport driver, and he's up into the top 4 once again. He's not finished outside of the top 4 so far this season, 4th and 3rd so far but he might be looking to go one better. He's got a ways to go, about 8.5 seconds if he wants to get second. At the moment in this race is Cam Roger and George Zalagianis still shadow each other at the front of this field. I know the Tour de France is on at the moment, and there is often a bit of slipstreaming where each, if they're in a breakaway, they can try and use each other to get a little further up the road. And I wonder if that's what Cam Roger and Zalagianis are doing on 4 wheels rather than 2, and going a little bit faster than they do on a bike. But Cam Roger and Zalagianis doing very well. Zalagianis actually dropping off the back a bit. More than a second now between them. We see Fletcher to the inside of Rubio. Can he make the move stick? I believe he can. Yes, he is. And it's going to be P7 for Fletcher in that Valley eSports car. He's making his way through the field nicely with his teammate out of the race.
Yes, and the track temperature's dropped a little bit as well, so they need to heat into their tyres just a little bit more, so they could be struggling for some grip on those hard tyres. But George is dropping quite a bit compared to Cameron Rogers, so I wonder if George is struggling on those hard tyres through the middle sector, or maybe he's just not confident and he's early stage on the hards, which may send alarm bells to people like Victor and Tom, who are also on the hards. But saying that, Tom just had personal best middle sector, 40.4 for him. As we're seeing side-by-side action from Loic and Stoyan as well, as Loic's up into 5th place right now, and he's going to set his sights on Tom Oldermenga in front, as we've got a few pitters already for their first stop. So I do suggest this could be a 2-stop.
Yeah, I mean, hard runners, Lianos and Patrick Sevitt are now in the pit lane as well. 2 of the Royal Blues in that pit lane right now. That's an interesting one to come off of the hard tyre at the end of lap 11 of a 42 lap race, just over a quarter of the way through. And very interesting decision there to take the hard tyres off. Barbikov probably expected them to come in off of that medium tyre sooner or later. But yeah, interesting strategy choices from some of these drivers. But it frees up the train a little bit more. A few of the drivers leaving the train, which gives a little bit more opportunity for some fighting between some of the other guys. Vagapov, Frelick, Pasquale, Matt Toussaint is actually a little bit off the back of that train, currently down in 11th place. But I think it's an interesting proposal. The fact that Sevic's gone onto that medium tyre, with Lianos going hard in the early stages of this race. So strategy choices are very much up in the air at the moment, and we'll have to just see who comes out on top with it.
I always like the varied strategies. Usually sometimes people think, oh, the race is boring, there's not much action, but usually I like races where strategy could come into play, and people can try and close in on a driver on fresher tyres and potentially go for moves that way as well, even if it's one driver. And could we see some undercuts come into play? It is a very long pit lane, one of the longest on the FSR calendar as well, so it's important to take to reflect what your rivals are going to do. You've got to read what your rivals could do and not worry about it too much. Basically just plan ahead. If one of your rivals doesn't come in, then maybe you think you should think about coming in or potential. But Sevitt, well, I don't know why he's got on me. I thought he was going to stretch it out on the hards a little bit more, but again, as I was saying, I think he may want that early undercut and potentially go onto the hards for the remainder of this race, because we know how long the pit lane is around here. I think we can see Pascal trying to go down the inside into Brooklands and Luffield, and he's in 9th position right now, still in the top 10. And don't forget, there's plenty of drivers that could score points in this race. The top, pretty much everyone could score points in this race if you finish, but the top 10, they're going to score some decent amount of points if they finish like this. But still, all could happen. Still people who are yet to make some pit stops. And again, you can see one driver pulling away, and you can see everybody else in that huge DRS train.
Indeed. We've got Cam Roger, who is that 1.4 seconds, 1.5 ahead of George Zalagianis. And we were wondering whether that was George's tyres dropping off. But I actually think Roger may have upped the pace a little bit, because he's pulled a little bit to even off as well during that stage. Tom Oldermenga is gaining, looks like the fastest of those top 4, but then it's a bigger gap to Munier and Fletcher. So it's going to be interesting to see who's going to be able to hold on to the win. Of course, still a long way to go. They've completed 13 laps, 29 laps are yet to be completed. So we'll have to wait and see who comes out on top. But it's going to be an interesting one in this Pro Championship, of course. Round 4 of 9 in this 2023 season, and it's going to be a long one if you are down near the back of the field. Mancini is nearly a lap down. I mean, he's only a couple of corners in front of Cam Roger, and he wouldn't want to fall a lap behind the leader. Here comes Fletcher inside. It was a dummy from Munier, but then Fletcher found the inside line. Oh, no, there's a spin. Oh, no, there's a spin. Oh, I think the roll back onto the racing line there. Thankfully not. That could have been a large accident with contact between Loic Munier and Fletcher there. Not ideal for either driver, as we're going to see a replay of it now.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of spinners have happened, is heading towards Brooklands and Luffield and in towards turn 1. But I think we saw quite a few drivers go off at a later point as well. And another love tap once again, and that could have ended in tears. He should have waited a little bit more to try and get off the racing line, but at least he played it safe a little bit, because otherwise more cars could have had their races ended by him, as Pascal once again has gained another position into Stowe Corner. Nicely done from the Visceral eSports driver. He's up into 6th. He's having a really good race so far. He's also had a good qualifying too, so he's getting quite a few positions from him. Not the best of starts, but he's definitely on the comeback. So he's a driver that's upped his pace, saved his tyres early on. It's definitely showing, and he's not that far behind Loic too, so maybe this could be the chance where he could shine in his race. He finished 6th in Barcelona, but did not have a good race in Canada, so maybe this could be the race where he fights back too. So 2 great moves in a row in the space of 3 laps for Christian Pascal.
It is, and we have been watching his progress very closely, haven't we? He was back in 12th, but he's moving through the field nicely at the moment, and Pascal doing a Tom Aldermenger style drive at the moment to be up in 6th place after a lower than average starting position for the Visceral eSports driver. Those gaps at the front look to be increasing as well. You see Cam Roger now got 2 seconds on George Zalagianis. Ivanov as well falling back, but Aldermenger is closing. So it does look like Aldermenger is still in in a hunt for at least a podium, if not second or maybe even the race win. There's a long, long way to go. Pasquale still just trying to find his way inside the DRS of Munier through Maggots and Beckett's and onto Chapel Curb. He comes out onto the hangar straight. As we look back and we see the 2 Royal Blue Racing cars, Patrick Sevitt and Barbikov, from 13th and 14th. They've both come into the pit lane, and they are 31 seconds off the lead of this race. And I think they may be close, as George Zalagianis is in the pit lane, they may be close to Tom Aldermenger or so when he comes into the pit lane after seeing the Academy pit stop time, but that remains to be seen. Frelick currently the lead Royal Blue Racing driver, as we see George Zalagianis. Where does he come out then?
Yeah, so he comes out of the pit lane, and I did see a few drivers hit their front wing in the pit lane before in Silverstone, and hopefully George has not done that. And he's come out in front of traffic. That's not what he wants. He wanted clear air in front of him, and that's not good timing for George Zalagianis, who wanted to try and gain the advantage, an undercut advantage from Cameron Roger. And my advice is pit at the right time and make sure you get clear air, and that's where you can gain a lot of an advantage on those fresher tyres compared to your rivals. But he's got a lot of work to do now. A bit of a shame for him to come out where he is right now, but it's not over for him yet. And let's just hope he can get past these drivers very, very quickly in towards Cox Corner. He gets past one car with no problem at all. Nicely done from George.
Very nicely done indeed, and he's going to have to make these moves quickly if he wants to come out of this pit stop phase in the lead of the race. Cam Roger, will he go for the 1 stop? Will he stick with the 2 that Zalagianis is on? Of course, you know, it's a well-known phrase, but if you do the same as your rival, you will beat them, and if you do different, it's up in the air. So maybe that's what Zalagianis is trying. He's going to get 2 on this one straight. He's passed Frelick, he's passed Nizio on the same hanger straight on lap 17. It was lap 16 and 42 in his case. But what a move from him. He's going to be up in 6th place now, as Nizio and Frelick are both in the pit lane, which is why they jumped back ahead of him on that timing screen. But Zalagianis up into 6th. He's got Pasquale and Munier not too far up the road now for him as well to try and overtake. You just saw them flying through, shot through turn 2 there. And the Grind Effect SimRacing team are going to be willing him on. Currently, Matt Tucson in 8th place as well. Of course, he hasn't pit yet, but 8th is currently a good spot for him at the moment. He's not had the best of starts to the season. 10th, his best finish in Spain, but it remains to be seen how far up the field he can find himself by the end of the race. As Cam Roger didn't pit, of course, on that lap, neither did Ivanov. So no one is blinking at the threat of George Zalagianis as we see Pasquale fighting with Munier as they come through towards Stowe. Towards Copse, I should say.
Yeah, he's not giving up, is he, right now? And for one moment, obviously, he was fighting, I think it was against, I think, Pete or someone for P6. I know someone else has just breezed past him, or he might be a lap, no, he's a lap down or something, so all good. That's not going to help Christian in the slightest, but he's already closed up to the likes of Loic in the space of a few corners, which I have to say it was George that actually got past him. My bad, as George is really getting a lot of time on his rivals and already pulling the undercut of Dreams. Now we've got the top 3 in the pits, and you can already see George heading towards Vale and into club. Could this be the comeback that he's looking for? Maybe that we thought that it was not good timing. This could be good timing. We'll have to wait and see. Cameron Roger is probably going to be coming out of the pit lane now, and George easily ahead of Cameron Roger. He's gained a second on him already, so yeah, with him getting past the cars quickly as he did, that has helped him get in front of him, and that's what he needs to do, and he's done it. He's now your race leader.
But the question is, how much has he taken out of those tyres by trying to get past all of those drivers on those last couple of laps? He was very successful. If he didn't get past Munier towards the end of that hanger straight on the last lap, I don't think he would have been in the lead. So that was a crucial overtake to make to get himself in front of Cam Roger, who is currently going to be chasing him down. There's barely anything in it between them. But these two have both gone hard on the strategy. Ivanov has gone onto the medium tyre after coming off of the hard, and Oldermenger as well has come out just in front of Paul August-Lahn, the Visceral Esports driver currently in 6th, who hasn't pit yet. We're nearing the end of these first pit stops. Not everyone has yet made their first pit stop. We're probably looking at 2 stops, judging by everyone's times, but it remains to be seen. Here comes Cam Roger. Can he make a move towards Stowe Corner? Oh, he made a little bit of a move to the inside. I thought he might just send it towards the end of the straight, but he held back by the end. And George Zalagianis still leads from Cam Roger, but Victor Ivanov is going to come at them on those medium tyres.
Pascal has come into the pits. He's also gone for the medium tyres, same as Simon Frelick and Patrick Sevitt as well. Ivanov is crucially on the medium tyres too, in 4th place, and he's already got past Loic, as Loic has, I think, gone into the pits. Paul August-Lahn is in the pits. I think pretty much everybody has now done their pit stop for the final few drivers coming in. Good to see a mixture of strategies coming up as well, and nice to see how Cameron has caught up to George Zalagianis in the pit stops alone, maybe due to the fact that he has the fresher rubber, but again, we saw how George Zalagianis managed to get past a few drivers very, very quickly, and maybe he was pushing too much. Is Roger, can he be a bit too conservative, or will he try and get past George Zalagianis first and then try and be conservative before he potentially makes his final stops? We're almost halfway into this race, and we're going to see Cameron Roger trying to make the move into Copse Corner, but backs out. Zalagianis closed the door very nicely indeed, and he keeps the position, just George, and I have to say he's the fastest man on the circuit right now, but Cameron Roger is the fastest out of anyone in the first sector, 25.7 compared to George's 26.0, so 3 tenths quicker. I think George is still quicker than Cameron Roger in the middle sector though, which is where I think he's going to gain the most time. As DRS enabled for Cameron Roger, but he's not able to get past George, like I was saying, quicker in the middle sector by 2 tenths per second.
Yeah, indeed, and that's going to help him, as he said, through the race, because that is where it's difficult to overtake. So if he can gain that time there, he may be able to be at a bigger advantage when they come to Sector 3 and Sector 1, where the DRS is active, where it is easier to make those overtakes. But Cam Roger is definitely not giving up on this one whatsoever. Still only just under half a second behind George Zalagianis for the lead of this race. We're nearing half distance in this Pro Championship race, round 4 of 9 for the 2023 season. Of course, Victor Ivanov is your current championship leader, but he's currently heading for his worst finish of the season. If it stays like this,
oh my God!
getting aligned on the inside. I don't know how he's found it there, but he's found the lead of the race through Brooklands and into Luffield. Zalagianis tried to block it off. Cam Roger found the line down the inside, and it's given him the race lead once again.
That was absolutely perfect. Apologies for my reaction. I was not expecting him to make a move this fast. That was sensational from Cameron Roger, but I think with George cutting through the field maybe very, very quickly, that's probably not helped him with his tyres, but George had to do that. If he wouldn't have done that, Cameron would have still been in the lead. So it's he had to take a little bit of a compromise there as well, but both of them, I think, have even pace throughout this race. So it's not going to be very long before George starts to capitalise and close in too, because he's now got the DRS, whereas Cameron Roger does not. I'm very excited to see the battle for the lead, and that's what I was hoping for throughout the entirety as well. I think we saw it in Academy a few weeks ago, a battle for the lead, and I think we're going to see something similar here as well. We'll see how the gap behind comes down for fit to even off as well, because he's on those medium tyres, and as Ed suggested in the chat, maybe he wants to get the mediums out of the way, but he's not even closing in on the top two, which may make the mediums meaningless for even off, but he's still your championship leader, and he can still be leading this championship if he keeps this up, because obviously George is currently sitting in 12th in the championship, and Cameron Roger currently sitting in 21st. So to be honest, he wouldn't mind being in P3 currently in this race, because his main rivals out of the picture currently, and the only one he has to worry about is Tom Oldermenger, and there's still quite a big gap in the championship anyway.
Yeah, indeed, and it's important to remember that this result for Roger and Zalagianis would be massive for them in the championship. Zalagianis, if he stayed in second place, would move on to 54 points, which would shoot him up right, I think, almost certainly into the top 5 of the championship. And even for Cam Roger as well, that will definitely put him in the top 10 if he was to end the race with 40. So a lot of change that they could have if they stay where they are. It's important for them to pick up as many points as they can after slow starts to the season. But as they come towards the end of the first half of this race, it's still Roger and Zalagianis, and even of 1, 2, 3. It's been like that for a while, but it's not necessarily the way that many people would have expected it to happen after that overtake from Cam Roger, which will most definitely be on the highlights reel come the end of the race. Of course, but Ed will make, I believe actually, on that highlights reel, Ed's going to include Tom Oldermenger. I think he's named it Olden Questions, hasn't he? So
yes.
Make sure to look out for that one in the coming week. That might be interesting to get the driver's perspective. And talking of Tom Oldermenger, he has been very slowly but very surely gaining on the leader Cam Roger. He's only now about 6 seconds back from the leader, when he was about 9.5 about 15 laps ago. So he is gaining slowly, but is he gaining enough maybe to challenge towards the end of the race? That remains to be seen. But the top 4 might come together, and this could create a very exciting last third of the race.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember actually for Tom Oldermenger when his last win actually was. His last win was in the Pro Championship, because it's really hard to tell. But I am gonna look at it currently to see when he got his last win. I believe it was 2019 in the Pro Championship. He got it in Singapore as well for TCF off Racing, that team. So it's been, I think, a long drought for Tom Oldermenger, and then the highest division it was in 2021 in the Pro Championship. He got second, and then he got third. His best result in Canada this season as well. So yeah, he's probably doing a Kimi Raikkonen style winless drought, where he's taken a long time to get a win in the Pro Championship. But it's been, I think, for 3 or 4 years since he last took the win, and potentially he could get it here, but it is still quite a bit to go in this race. We're half race distance now, and Cameron Roger still leads, but George is catching, and he's catching fast.
He is indeed, and that DRS will help him out down the Wellington Straight and down the Hangar Straight as well. You can see on that mini-map on the bottom right of your screen those 2 little green straights where the DRS is available for the drivers if they are close enough to the car in front. But as I mentioned, Tom Oldermenger gaining. He's gained another second on the leading 2, so maybe he will catch quicker than we expected to. I mean, his consistency this season, currently with a 4th, 4th and a 3rd, it reminds me of willpower in IndyCar last year, because of course in the 17-race championship he only won the one race, but by finishing in the top 5 in I think at least 12 if not 13 of the races, he managed to pick up enough points to carry him through to the championship. I mean, if it wasn't for Ivanov's similarly very high consistency, but a little bit further up, I think he'd be very much either in the lead of this championship or within 5 points or so. But as it is, he's 23 points off Ivanov, and that looks set to increase if it finishes the way it is. Of course, you pick up in FSR, you pick up 21 points for third and 18 points for fourth, so that gap may increase to 26 points. Never trust a commentator's maths, but I believe that is correct. Lap 24 is this beginning now of this Pro Championship race as Cam Roger crosses the line. Now Zalagan is still in tow. Ivanov and Oldminger are closing. Although, Jess, to be honest, I thought Ivanov would gain a little bit more on these front two as he's on that medium tyre, because, of course, the top two and even Oldminger have gone hard. So you'd expect them they're going to have to go to a different tyre, so presumably the medium for the last stint. But I would have expected Ivanov to have gained more on that tyre, but he just seems to have just stagnated in third.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised because usually if you start on the mediums, you expect to climb your way up very quickly. But it may just be down to the temperature potentially on these tyres. He may have not suited the groove, or maybe he just doesn't like this track potentially. But he is closing in on George Zaladianis, so he's doing a lot better job than he was earlier on. So I think he's just found his groove a little bit more. Maybe with the hard tyres, with the track starting to get a bit hotter, then they could be struggling a bit more. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm trying to have a look as we speak as to when Cameron Rogers' last win was, and it is very hard to tell. I don't think he's had a win in no, he's won in the X Academy series, which I'm trying to get his results for that, but it's very hard. It's got an X on it. It's not Academy, it's X Academy series where he got his first win. Oh, he won it in 2018. Oh yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, he won in 2018. Oh my God, that's a lot even longer time than Tom. That's insane. That is very insane. But he hasn't won in pro. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, so that's a massive time since his last win, and he will be very much hoping that he gets it eventually, and hopefully today is the day.
He will brag in the commentary box later on in the World Championship.
Very much so. I don't think any of us will be able to hear the end of it if he does come through for the victory. I remember last week I was told, that he hadn't had the best race. Is he racing
instead of commentating? Wow.
Oh well. Okay. Well, this is a good setup for that, isn't it? If he's currently winning this race.
It's good practice. I thought he was commentating. He must be someone else in the commentary box tonight then. It's Zach and Ewan in the commentary box for World instead of Cameron. Oh, okay, that's going to be a good lineup. But you can check them out at 6:30 tonight, the World Championship, which is broadcast live on this channel and also broadcast by our partners, VCO eSports. So massive shout out to them for making this league possible as well, and for partnering this league as we're still watching the battle for Cameron Roger and George Zalagianis. 3 tenths now is the gap.
Yeah, it is, and yeah, it's great that we are able to have this racing on every few weeks, because it does provide some absolutely fantastic entertainment. But yeah, if Cam Roger is racing later, then he will be over the moon with how this is going, because this is going to set him up very nicely indeed. But I'm sure Zach Sweeney and Ewan O'Leary won't let him get away very lightly if there was any bragging in the commentary box. So
imagine if you will be commentating whilst racing. That would be quite hard as well. I tried that and it's not. It's really distracting.
So have I, and it's not fun. But it's also, it can be entertaining, especially when your co-com is effectively an engineer as well. So here we go. I thought that was Zalagianis making a move there, but he can't quite find the line, and he's a long way back from Cam Roger. It's more of a just a follow the toe rather than anything else there for Zalagianis. But as we see, Tom Oldminger still closing. You can see now all top 4. There you go, in the one shot. I believe that's the first time we've seen the top 4 all in that one shot down at Luffield, and you can see them down the old pit straight, or the national pit straight as it is known now. There's Tom Oldminger. Ivanov just flew through your screen there, if you could even see it he flashed through in less than a blink of an eye. Tom Aldermenger, though, is gaining on those hards. The pit window, I think, even though will pit relatively soon to go onto that hard tyre, as Zalagianis opens his DRS to gain that little bit more on Cam Roger. But as I said a few laps ago, I think the end of this race, we're going to see all 4 of these drivers battling it out for the win.
And don't forget, potentially, it could be a 2-stop. We could see the drivers going onto the medium tyres. And I do believe you have to use different tyre compounds. So the mediums will probably be the tyre of choice. And, yep, that is correct from race control in my ear. So thank you very much for confirming that one. Yes, you do have to use at least one different tyre compound. Otherwise, you will get disqualified. It is like in real life. But could we see some drivers go for the softs? I doubt it. I think potentially we could potentially see mediums coming onto the car maybe around lap 30, lap 31, and that will get to around about the end of this race, because I think we saw the mediums last for about 8-9 laps optimum pace before they went on to the hard compound and tyres too. So yeah, it won't be that long before we will see at least our leaders coming too, and then we will obviously see the hard runners coming. We've got Patrick Sevitt, who is in, and we got Barbacop, who is in as well for their final stops of this race, and they're both on the hard tyres. I was expecting them to go on the hards earlier, but I'm guessing they wanted to fight with the big guns for much longer. And Aldermenger is winning DRS of Ivanov. This is going to get very interesting. This could be the fight for the podium, Darragh.
It very well could be indeed. But on Patrick Sevitt and Barbacop, I've got to remember, they pitted very early indeed. I remember those two were the first to come into the pit lane, and they've just kind of switched the strategy. I think Barbacop hard medium and Sevitt medium hard. So now they're both on the hard tyre to the end of the race. But with Aldermenger, within that DRS, that's just going to give him even more time onto the back of the top 3, even of Zalagianis and Cam Roger. Currently, they've been there for almost like to where we are now. Lap 28 is what we're going to be starting as Cam Roger crosses the line. But these 4 are the only 4 who are realistically in with a chance of the win. You can see on that mini-map, you can see the top 4 coming through towards turn 3, and then you look back and there's no one on the track before you get to Pasquale down in 5th, and he's just coming around club corner right now. Cam Roger.
Sorry, carry on.
No, I was going to say Cam Roger has nearly pulled the second to Zalagianis now as well, which won't help him out very much.
No, that won't help him out at all, and you don't want to lose the DRS, because otherwise, if you're in P1, that's going to give you quite a huge advantage. And look at this right now as well. People could pass some lap traffic for all we know, and that could be a huge factor. Let's hope they don't get into contact as well. And I have to say, Pascal still in 5th place, despite him being one of the last people to make the pit stops. He's running a little bit fine at the moment and can score some nice points once again. He always likes his 5th, 6th place, is where we got in Barcelona, so maybe he wants to keep the consistency up with this car right now. But we're watching Tom Aldermenger through the hangar straight, and he's going to potentially use the DRS. Yes, he is. Tom is on the hards, bit to even off on those old mediums. Through Stowe Corner, he goes around the right-hand side in towards the pit straight, and I have to say, Tom Aldermenger, great move from him, and he's on to the podium positions. And the very, very test for him is he going to be able to catch up into the top 2? The top 2 can't afford to score, because otherwise Tom could be in with a shot for this race victory as well. But Tom needs to do that. Victor, surely Victor's going to pit very soon, unless he's pitted already for a second start.
Yeah, he definitely will. If he's going to come off that medium tyre, isn't he? I believe. So we'll have to wait and see how that develops. Of course, Ivanov is dropping a long way back now. Look at that. He's losing time hand over fist now from Tom Aldermenger. And I don't think he's going to be too pleased. He may have made the slightly wrong call on not pitting at the end of that lap. Of course, there will only be 13 to go at the end of this lap. Of course, the top 3 will go onto that medium, and Ivanov will go onto the hard, giving him even less of an advantage on them. But Tom Aldermenger, his consistency has been incredible this season, and he is gaining on the top 2 to try and go for the win. But it's a great result for that team, isn't it? For the Aldermenger and Roger team of Burst Esports, who are currently on for a 1-3 of this team replay here. Ooh,
oh, it's Victor!
That's what happened then. That's why he lost all that time. And that's why he's down 7 seconds off the back of the lead then.
Yeah, so he's not going to be in a chance of maybe even a podium as well, which is a huge shame. Maybe the pressure has got to him a little bit, and that's probably given Tom Aldermenger a huge sigh of relief now. He's got some clear air as well in front of him, and you can tell from the lap times, his medium tyre runs. He's been on those tyres for 10 laps already, and I'm trying to remember who was on those medium tyres first. I think it was Stoyan Barbakov. He was on it for 11 laps, and you can see the tyre drop off, I think, towards lap 9, lap 10, and then we saw with Victor, he dropped off even earlier than that. So yeah, maybe he's struggling a little bit on those mediums, but I believe he started on hards, so maybe he wants to go on another set of mediums until the end of this race, or maybe he wants to play it safe with being more durable tyres. So where he comes, oh, he's on another set of mediums, I believe, so that will get him to the end of this race. But he's got to manage his tyres more effectively. He can't afford to do what he did in his last stint and struggle in the final 2 laps. But obviously he's got engineers that will help him a little bit, so surely his last stint with their fuel will be a lot better.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that it'll be important for him, won't it, on this last stint, and especially in the next couple of laps, to really push forward, because he's lost all that time and he's got to really put in a good couple of laps here to try and get back towards that top 3. I mean, Zalagianis here, he's a bit closer to Cam Roger than he has been previously, as we see him coming down towards Stowe Corner, but he's not quite able to make the move here. He's a little bit too far back. But when will these guys come into the pit lane? Will it be soon? Neither are coming in just yet, of course. But remember, Cam Rogers has fresher tyres than Zalagianis after he pit a couple of laps after the ground effect driver. So we'll have to see what goes on there. We're looking at Lehu. I don't think I've actually said his name during this race. He's on the back of Paul August Lar. Yeah, he's doing well. We've not. I don't think we've said his name once this entire race so far. So yeah, I'm not too sure what's going on there. But he's doing very well to progress up to 9th. He's on the back of August Lar for 8th. And we'll have to see, of course, only 16 runners left in this race. But Zalagianis is still on the back of Roger. Lehu comes into the pit lane.
Yep, so I think out of some of the runners who pitted before him, like Patrick Sebbett, he's a little bit out of sync for that. So it'll be interesting to see where he comes out in relation to them, because I think that's going to be the main battles so far. I'm surprised that our top 3 have not come in yet, or maybe they want to stretch it even longer, or maybe they're going to try and do a one-stop, but let's hope they do not get a puncher. We've seen brave strategies before, but the track temperatures is starting to cool a little bit, so maybe a one-stop could be possible, but it is a longer race compared to obviously what we saw in Academy earlier on, so 2-stop may be the most likely currently, as DRS activated with Zalagianis. Will one of them come in first and show the dummy, as it were, or will they stay out another lap? I won't be surprised if both of them come at the same time. No, George decided that he's going to take advantage and come into the pit lane, so he's potentially going to be doing the undercut on Cameron Roger, and Tom also comes into the pit lane too, so they want to get an earlier advantage in comparison to Cameron Roger. Obviously, Even Up has just pitted as well, so we'll see where he comes out in relation to the ones who have just pitted.
Yeah, indeed, and this is the crucial part of the race, isn't it, where these last pit stops are going on, but with Roger going longer, will it hinder him? I can't see it helping him terribly much, and we know the undercut is massive here after seeing what Zalagianis did, and we'll just see, I'm sure, the time come down and down and down. Maybe even Tom Aldermenger might be able to try and find a little bit of an advantage over the front 2, but that remains to be seen. Ivanov is off the back of Tom Aldermenger. He looks like he might have to settle for 4th here unless he finds a big bit of pace on this medium tyre towards the end of the race, but as we saw in the middle stint, he didn't necessarily have the best pace on the medium tyre, and we'll have to wait and see what goes on. So we wait and see. Cameron, we'll see him now. He will surely come into the pit lane at the end of this lap and go on to the medium tyre for the last 10 laps. But with Zalagianis and Aldermenger and Ivanov already on that medium tyre and chasing him down, it's going to be a cracking last 10 laps here.
Yep, 10 laps to go until the end of this one, and surely Cameron Roger is going to come in now. Yes, he is coming in now. He's got to, really, because otherwise he's going to lose quite a bit of time to George behind as well, and the likes of Tom. But I'm just trying to see who else has still got to pit. I believe Paul August Lan has still got to pit. He's been on those hard tyres for 13 laps. Obviously, Christian has just pitted, so has Loic. Simon Frelick has just pitted, same with Patrick Sevitt. And I think it is just Paul, Peter, and yeah, it is just Paul, Peter, and Ivan who still yet to pit. Everybody else has done their final stops, and they will get to the end. But it looks like George Zalagianis again, with him pitting early, has come in into a fit. I believe, was it Cameron Roger that pitted first last time?
No, Zalagianis pitted first last time because he made all those overtakes, didn't he? So I think it's rinse and repeat again, and Cam Roger is going to have to make the move if he wants to win the race once again. But the top four split by only 5.5 seconds. Tom Aldermenger 3 seconds back. He has been gaining. I think he has been the fastest driver here during the race. I mean, he's had the pace consistently over the front guys, and he's really showing why he has had such a consistent results this season. But Cam Roger and Zalagianis are currently 1 and 2. It's going to take a lot to knock them off there, and I think it'd be gutting for them to have spent so long at the front of the field to then just fall to Tom Aldermenger right at the end of the race.
Yeah, I think for these two, they were looking for redemption this week, and they've definitely shown that redemption as well. Obviously, Zalagianis with that disconnect in Spain. Cameron Roger, obviously, first race this season was in Canada as well. He got some good points in 11th as well, which is 10 points, and in any other championship it's good, but in FSR is even better as well, because you're getting more points on your rivals. But surely you're a racer, surely you want to climb up even more places, especially with a track like this at your home Grand Prix as well for Cameron. And sure, there are other drivers who pretty much are based in the UK would like to win as well, but obviously Cameron is the closest right now, and George is looking to spoil the pie of Cameron, but he's looking not to do so at the moment. He is pushing. I think George is suiting the medium tyres a lot better than the hards, and it is definitely showing, because Cameron is not able to catch up yet. But I wonder if Cameron is just saving up for the final few laps, because if he pushes now and gets past him now, then George may do the same later on. He could save up until the end, and George may get past. And Cameron has gained quite a bit of time to George in the last lap. He's now 1.2 seconds behind. This is going to be a battle that you all want to see. Make sure you stay tuned. We've got World coming up at 6:30, but we've still got to watch the end of Pro, and this is very, very exciting stuff.
It is indeed exciting stuff, and we just don't know where to look, do we, really? Cam Roger is closing again a little bit before he comes to Marcus and Beckett. That gap was 1.6, now 1.3, and it is slightly closing. There is, of course, that car in front. That's Mancini, I do believe, who is about to be lapped, and Leonov isn't far in front of them as well. So the back markers may have a little bit of a role to play in the last 10 laps of this race, and when we complete lap 34 we'll only have 8 to go for Cam Roger to try and find a way past Zalagianis, or whether Zalagianis can defend that lead. We'll look back at Fletcher now with Frelick, Sevitt and Barbiakov, the 3 drivers from the same team in a row there, the Royal Blue Racing team, in 8th, 9th and 10th. They've refound each other on the track once again, and they are currently scoring a nice amount of points. I believe that would be 36 for them if it finished as it was. But it's even better, isn't it, for Cam Roger and Tom Aldermenger in that Burst eSports car, because if it finished the way it was now, they'd score a big 46 points for the 2 cars there, which would be massive for their championship. Yeah, exactly. It would move them up probably in front of Netrex and maybe even Team Iris as well, with NX27 only scoring 10 points in this race. It might even move them. It will move them up in front of them as well, so they might find themselves second in the championship at the end of the day.
Yeah, and there's certain drivers that can't make it today as well, so that would really burst them on the scenes as well. And obviously with Tom's podium last time out as well, that's probably helped them go from lower down on the grid to potentially a P5 as well. And with both cars doing so well in this race, working together potentially, we could see a 4-way fight for this race victory, which will be insane. But I think with even off spin earlier, I think this could be a top 3 fight, which I think with the Burst eSports team, will Tom be back in this picture, and will we sort of see a team play here to help either Cameron or Tom get this victory? I think I think Tom is closing, so it could happen. He's not that far behind our race leader. He's not even that far behind his own teammate. So you can see him in the same camera shot as well. And yeah, probably in the same party as well. Well, the same TeamSpeak channel, as it were, because they all use TeamSpeak. I can't wait to see how this turns out as well. I'm surely Tom and Cameron are going to be communicating as to how best to get one of them to win this race and beat George Zalagianis for the victory. But I can't call this one. It could be any one of our top three that will win this one. I wonder what the chat will think. Let us know.
Yeah, definitely. We'd love to see what you guys think will happen in the closing stages. I mean, I can't say that I expected Cam Rogers to get past in that second stint in the way he did to the inside of Brooklands, but he found a way, and who's to say that won't happen again? He's closing again a little bit more. It's 1.2 seconds. I think the second he gets within inside that DRS window of George Zalagianis, it's going to be much easier for him to try and find a lot more time down those straights to close in on the current race leader. He loses a little bit of time, I've noticed, as well through Maggots and Beckett's, but seems to make it up pretty much everywhere else around the lap. So that seems to be where he is struggling the most. We'll have to see if that is what is going to lose him this race after starting on pole position. I mean, we forget that either Erkan did set the fastest lap in qualifying, but disconnected for the race, didn't he? So who's to say what would have happened in the race if he was actually able to drive? But Cam Rogers and Zalagianis are not going to complain a single bit, because they are very much winning from this position. I mean, in this race, along with Erkan, we have lost Nizio, Matt Toussaint, Kevin Morville, Howard, and Alberola as well, leaving us with only 16 runners, 2 of which you could just about see in picture just in front of the leading 2. Leading 3 even. Tom Oldermenger is pretty much as close to Cam Rogers as Cam Rogers is to Zalagianis. 2 seconds between the top 3, and there's only 5.5 laps to go.
And very kindly, the guys at FSR put a poll in the live chat, so put your predictions in. It's quite close between Cameron Roger and George Zalagianis, 42% for Cameron Roger, but it's pretty much even now between the top 2 as to who you guys think would win this race. And we've got Cameron, who's going to be in DRS range now, so this is it then. He is on attack mode. Could he I'm just trying to think if he's got push to pass left to see if he can try and get him as well, but he's definitely got the DRS to use in these final stages as well, and maybe he was just waiting until the final few moments to make sure George does not respond, which is very, very smart for him, but I'm almost certain George knows what Cameron Roger is doing, and there's also some lap cars in front of them as well, but again, they can't score well because look who's also in the scene. Tom Oldermenger, he's also in the shot for his first victory as well. So, yeah, that's going to be quite interesting.
And of course, DRS here isn't quite a second. You have to be a little bit closer. I think it's around 7/10 of a second you've got to be to have that DRS window. So Cam Rogers, he needs to gain that little bit more time to be within it. But Oldermenger as well, still really, really close behind. These lap runners are a little bit, they're going to probably get in the way with only 5 laps to go, and just being just in front, I can't imagine that they won't have something to do with the closing stages of this race. We just hope that they don't make a large impact really on who wins this one, because Cam Rogers and Zalagianis have been at it all day long. It's lap 38 to 42, and I don't think they have been, well, unless they've been one's pitted and the other hasn't. They've not been outside of 2 seconds of each other pretty much for this entire race. So it's been a cracking battle. It's gone to and fro all the way through. And we've only got another 4 laps to decide who's going to win. But Cam Rogers is so close to that DRS. He's just going to be pushing himself, hoping to get inside there. Ivanov has completely dropped off the back. It's a 3-horse race for the win. And I just don't want to call who's coming out on top on this one just yet.
No, I think it's going to be quite close as we're seeing, I think, lap cars moving out of the way of the top 2, which is great to see. Luckily they're not getting in the way there as well. I'm looking at George Zalagianis' best finishes then. So his last win was in Academy, but in Pro, his best finish was a 5th place, and the average finish that he's had in terms of finishing in pro was 15th. So he's got 1 5th place finish, 1 7th place, 1 9th place, 1 13th place, 1 18th place, 1 24th place, and 1 26th place. So that is him there. And then George in Academy, he's got 3 wins, 2 second places, and 1 third place. And then the rest of it, he's pretty much gained all other places apart from 10th, 13th, 14th, and any positions below that as well. So he is a consistent driver. He did miss out on the win in Spain due to circumstances out of his control. But imagine what would have happened if those power cuts wouldn't have happened. Maybe he would have challenged for the win there too as well. But Cameron Roger just saving, I think, a bit of tyre life, a bit of battery potential as well, because he doesn't want to push for the entirety of that, because we could see what happened to Victor Ivanov and could spin. So I think that's what Cameron is trying to manage currently. He's not winning DRS yet, but maybe in a few laps. And Tom's winning DRS now. That is crucial. Cameron has got to get a move on, because otherwise Tom can get past him for P2.
He can, and that'll be very big for the championship in terms of Oldermenger now gaining some points on Ivanov. That gap at the top of the championship will go from 23 to 20 if it finished as it is, but it will go down to 16 if I believe, if I've got that correct, if Tom Oldermenger can get past Cameron Roger, his teammate. Either way, we've mentioned it's a cracking result at the moment for Burst Esport. They're 2nd and 3rd, picking up what should be, in the end, 46 points for the team, which is absolutely fantastic for a 2-car team, as I don't even think the 4-car team of Royal Blue are going to pick up that many points, as they sit 8th, 9th, 10th and 16th. Yeah, he's in the DRS, but he's not close enough just yet. And Cam Roger as well, he's now within a second of Zalagianis. Only 2.5 laps to go. Is he going to be close enough? I'm not sure. It might be last lap saloon for him. He might have to put his foot down if he wants to get this win, but it is possible. Will we see it? I just don't want to call it yet.
I think if we call it now, Darragh, I think the one that we call will probably potentially end up having issues. So I think let's not predict ourselves. The guys in chat can, and if the person they predict does rubbish, then we can blame them. But we're not going to predict very much. And the crucial bit about this end of the race, it was cooler earlier on in the mid-stage of the race. It's back to like it was at the start of the race and during quali. So the tyres are going to be mega hot, and they're going to be in spins otherwise. So they've got to manage their tyres effectively, as George knows that Cameron and Tom are catching, and George is absolutely pushing to make sure that George could be the one that comes out on top as well. And it will be amazing for him to get his first win. You know what? The top 3 haven't had race victories in such a long time. No matter what happens, they're going to be ending their race win drought, which will be great to see. And George's last win was at the Belgian Grand Prix in 2022 in Academy, was his last win. So I think around, I'm just trying to see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8 races to go since George's last win in FSR, which I have to say is quite insane. So that could be that could be a very good celebration dance if George gets this one. Cameron is now within 7/10, only just. So this is crunch time for the 2 Burst Esports drivers. Could one of them snatch the win from George Salagianis, who's controlling this pack right now?
I mean, this is absolute high drama, isn't it? We've gone 40.5 laps, and we still have no idea who's going to win this race. There are 3 drivers all within a shout. Cam Roger is going to flick open that DRS. Oh, has he just lost it? I think he's just... Oh, no, he's got it. He has got it. Sorry. Yeah, I wasn't seeing the green light flash up, but he's got it, and he is gaining on Zalagianis. There's just 1 more lap to go. Tom Oldermenger as well, sitting just behind. I think he's just fallen out of the DRS of his teammate Cam Roger, but if Zalagianis and Roger start fighting in the final corners, he might be able to sneak his way up the inside. We know how unlucky Cam Rogers' luck has been over the last couple of years in Pro Series, but he's fighting for the win here this evening, and he is within the DRS. Yes, there's almost nothing in it between them. Can he get it on the run to love field?
There's also going to be traffic as well, which could help Zalagianis as well with the slipstream, and more importantly, Zalagianis is going to get the DRS as well, which may not help Cameron Roger. Zalagianis is planting the car in all the right places. Cameron's going to use the DRS into Brooklands now. He can't get past on this occasion. He may wait until he gets towards the hangers straight. This is nail-biting between the two. Will Cameron be very brave and send it through Cop's corner, or will he wait for a further straight to come? I have to say, these two have never put a foot wrong in this race, and this has been some sensational racing between the pair of them. Both of them have led this race. Oh, as Cameron has gone off the circuit a little bit, which has lost quite a bunch of time between the two. Will he still get DRS? Remains to be seen as they head towards Chapel for one final time. Oh, I think that's it for Cameron Roger, Darragh. I think George is going to get this one.
He is, and it's such a shame for him, and Tom Alderman is going to come past him as well. I mean, he was in the lead of this race. He took pole. He pitted later than George Zalagianis twice in this race, who did the undercut on both occasions. It didn't work out the first time Cameron got through, but the second time Zalagianis managed to keep the lead. He's going to come round club the final corner, and George Zalagianis is going to take the win here in the Pro Championship at the British Grand Prix. It's a fantastic result for him, and very much well deserved. Tom Aldermeyer finishes second in front of his teammate Cam Roger third, who was surely going to be at least a little bit disappointed at the end of that race after what was an absolutely fantastic effort for him after such bad luck over so many races. Ivanov came home for fourth, very lonely in that final stint. We see Vagapov, he might be looking for Patrick Sevitt on the final few corners. He's going to get to the inside at Stowe, and Vagapov and Patrick Sevitt, I should say, are fighting out into Vale. They're still fighting out. Oh, and Sevitt's going to come. Oh, my word. Oh, and they're both going to spin. And that's going to let Lahoo through. Lahoo's going to come home for 8th. There's more contact. There's absolute carnage at the final corner here with Vagapov, and it was Sevitt who spun around. But Lahoo and Barbakov found their way through for 8th and 9th, Sevitt for 10th. Paul Augustlin 11th with Frelick 12th as well. But we're going to see a replay of what's just happened there.
We've got to see a replay after what's happened there, because I think he just lost it on the curb, and then one of the cars had nowhere to go, and I'm sure there's going to be other cars that made contact as well. That was very close. I think that was Paul Augustlin who went past in the picture, and he lost a bit of time there as well. So let's just put into perspective on Tom's finishing positions. Tom finished 4th in Bahrain and Spain. Canada, he finished 3rd. Here he finished 2nd. We go ahead to Imola in 2 weeks' time. Could we see a win from Tom? It is bound to happen with him getting 4th, 3rd, 2nd. But we'll see. But Zalagianis, after that bad luck he had in Spain, has finally had the good luck warrant him here, and he's got the victory.
He has, and I seem to remember as well last week, didn't he? He had a bit of a moment where he got spun around, I think, at the hairpin at Gilles Villeneuve, so he's not had the best of luck the last couple of races, but he's won this one, and he will not be complaining whatsoever that he has taken home all 30 points here this evening. I mean, that's going to move him up very nicely in the championship, up to 59 points. Might even put him, I think he's just going to be in 5th position, behind Sevitt and Munier, but not by much at all. But what a race that was. The two, what are they? Burst eSport drivers, there we go, did incredibly well to finish where they did 2nd and 3rd, but behind George Zalagianis, who took home the victory. Ivanov came home 4th, the championship leader, off the podium for the first time this season, with Pasquale down in 5th after, well, I say down in 5th, up in 5th. Great result for the Vessel eSports driver. We saw him move through the field. Munier, last time out, winner at Gilles Villeneuve. He only comes home in 6th today for Team Iris, with Sergio Fletcher in 7th, and Alex Lahoo with a good result at the end with 8th. Barbikov picks up 9th after Sevitt had a little bit of contact in the final couple of corners, and he finished home in 10th place here. 11th went to Paul Augustlin. That's a good result for the other Vissel eSports driver, who have had a nice evening in Silverstone. Simon Frelick for Royal Blue finishes in 12th with Lianos and Vagapov 13th and 14th. Vagapov, of course, one of the drivers caught up in that final corner instant. Leonov and Mancini, the other two finishers for this race, as we had a few DNFs for Casper Nizio, Matthew Thiessen, Kevin Morville, Liam Howard, and George Alberola. Of course, a shame for Rd.4 not able to make the start, but he's at the fastest time in this race. But of course, next up, Imola will be the next round in 2 weeks' time, and I'm very much looking forward to that one. Are you, Jess? I know it's a great track for racing, isn't it?
Yeah, it always is, but it's again another technical circuit. We could see quite a few incidents in that one once again, because it's a very long run in towards turn to the first braking zone. It's one of the only circuits on the calendar where turn 1 is not a braking zone. It's like a little kink as well, so they need to watch out for that. But we've seen it provide great action in real life, but I think we could see it here as well. But even off, he would have wanted more, but he's still going to be leading the championship, I believe, but not by much, because Tom Aldermanger would have closed the gap a little bit. So I think I kind of want August to come soon, because this championship has been so good so far, but still a lot more to come, and we are not done. We've got World Championship coming up in just under half an hour's time with Zach and Ewan taking you through the action very, very soon.
Yes, and make sure you stick around for that, because the Academy and the Pro races this evening have been fantastic, and they really set up what should hopefully be an absolutely cracking world race later on, so make sure you join Zach and Ewan for that. My thanks to you, Jess, for joining the broadcast after not being here for Academy, but you joined for the Pro race, which was, if anything, even better than that Academy race we had earlier, and thanks to Cas on the broadcast, who gave us yet another fantastic stream to watch. But that is where we will end it. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Of course, stick around for that world race in about half an hour's time, because it's going to be an exciting one. Ewan and Zach will be here. But from Jess and myself, it's a very good evening, and we hope to see you again when we return for the Pro Championship in Imola.
Hello, I'm Jack Nichols, and welcome to
Who's going to break Lasmith's world title?
Look at these two go.
Oh, he's going to do it. His first victory.
The World Championship is done. What a race it's been.